sunshine. Welcome back to the Inside Line. I'm Gabbi Hall. If you're a regular listener, you know about our amazing sponsor, Team Ski Safe. I wear my bracelet nearly every day, and Team Ski Safe bracelets are the perfect thing for people involved with action sports like skiing, because this bracelet makes it easier for first responders to treat you effectively in the event of an emergency. No one wants it to happen, but we know they do. I have my emergency contacts information engraved on my bracelet, and then there's a unique ID on the bracelet that gives first responders access to important medical information on teamskisafe.com. So Team Ski Safe is the official medical bracelet of WiSP Sports. You can find more information about the bracelet and the great range of colors and styles by visiting their website at teamskisafe.com. And when you order your bracelet, remember to mention the Inside Line. So, after a few weeks, we've had a slightly different format of the show where we've been doing a lot more radio style with interviews intermixed. We're back to our regularly scheduled programming in sections, fresh tracks in the mix zone. And I'm really excited about that. My guest this week is Roni Remme of the Canadian national team. And I'll tell you about her in a bit, but I want to kick things off with the fresh tracks section. We're going to be talking about all the latest headlines in women's alpine skiing. So since the last episode, the ladies have raced at a few different venues, Kranjska Gora, Slovenia for some tech races, Flachau, Austria for the night slalom, Bad Kleinkirchheim, a mouthful, in Austria for speed races, and now the ladies are in Cortina d'Ampezzo in Italy. So it's been a very stacked schedule, mix of tech and speed. And this week, I'm not going to dive too deep into the race results, but I want to talk about a few highlights so you guys know what's happening in the ski racing world right now. So, of course, we have to talk about Mikaela Shiffrin. I mean, she continued to absolutely dominate these last few races. She's won 9 of the last 10 races she's entered. She did not race the most recent speed races in Bad Kleinkirchheim, but she was racing up until that point. Her most recent performance was in Flachau, Austria, which is this night slalom. They do it under the lights. It's relatively close to Salzburg. And what was really exciting about this particular race is that she came from behind. And that was something she hasn't had to do at all this season. I mean, she has been in the lead before every win. So it's a challenge. Bernadette Schild of Austria won the first run. You know that hometown crowd wanted to see her win, but I mean, Mikaela, in typical Shiffrin style, absolutely shredded the second run, came from behind, and won. And I think that was a really big moment for her because she didn't do great there last year. Last year, she was third on the podium, tied with Wendy Holdner. So I think it felt like a bit of redemption for her. And then things switched into speed. So like I said, Shiffrin took some time off. We do expect to see her in Cortina, but when things moved into speed and they moved to Bad Kleinkirchheim in Austria, there were a few new names in the headlines, which I think is always really exciting, particularly given the streak of tech races that we've had over the last few weeks. So we had a Super G and a downhill. They had to make some scheduling changes because of the snow conditions and weather there. It was really tough. The first couple of days, I was watching Instagram stories. Lindsey Vonn is always very vocal on there, so I recommend following her. But she would slide down the course and you could see how sugary the snow was. So it's very hard to get a grip. So they had to do a lot of course work to get the snow into racing condition. But they managed to do it. The track was bumpy. It definitely wasn't easy, but they were able to race. And the first person we have to talk about at that race is Federica Brignone. She won the Super G. She's an amazing Italian athlete. Laura Gut got second, and then Connie Heuter took third. Talking about Laura Gut, if you guys haven't listened to our previous episode, I interviewed her in Val d'Isère, France back in December, so definitely go take a listen on skiracing.com or WiSP Sports Radio. But it was exciting to see this mix up on the podium, and always good to see Federica Brignone on top. I often think of her as a giant slalom skier, but she really is a GS, Super G, and Alpine combined competitor. So she's always a good one to watch. And she followed that Super G win up with a second place result in the downhill. And I think in terms of the whole weekend, the downhill day was the big day because the Italians made history by sweeping the podium. It was a shortened course due to poor visibility. It was a bumpy track, really tough snow conditions. Lindsey Vonn actually said that she felt like she couldn't get a good grip on the snow, compared it to skiing on marbles, actually. But that did not shake the Italian team. And Sofia Goggia won. Like Lara Gut, Sofia Goggia has been a guest on the show. Brignone got second, and then their teammate Nadia Fanchini took third. As I mentioned, first time in history that they've swept a downhill podium. The Italians actually swept the giant slalom podium at World Cup finals in Aspen last year. So, when they do it big. And I think, Goggia we've seen on a downhill podium before. She did really well at the test events in South Korea last February. So we knew she had the potential to win, but Brignone had never been on a downhill podium before. And so it came out of nowhere. But that was really exciting. And then Nadia Fanchini, it had been 2 years since she'd been on a podium. She won in Latulle, Italy 2 years ago. I remember covering that race. And then we haven't seen her since. She's had a lot of problems with injury. And so she was in tears, actually, in the finish area. If you watch the broadcast, she was very overwhelmed. But when they came to the press conference, Nadia doesn't have a great English. So her teammates actually translated for her and spoke on her behalf. And I think Sofia Goggia, being the person that she is, spent some time in the press conference talking about how happy she was, not only about her own performance, but about what this meant for her teammates. And I think she said it really well. So I want to play that clip for you guys now.
Federica was really majestic, both yesterday, of course, she won, and also today, and she achieved her first podium in downhill. But Nadia, I'm really happy for myself, but I'm even more happy for Nadia, because she's really a good girl, a good woman, and she suffers so much during her career with all the injury she has to go and come through, and she never gave up, and she just know what this podium means to her, and sometimes a third place or a fifth place, as she achieved yesterday, is worth more than a victory. And she just know for herself what this podium means to her, and I am impressed for my performance and for her comeback, because she is back, and it was really tough for her, so I'm really happy.
So, unfortunately, as great as that race was for the Italians, the downhill was not as kind to Edith Miklos. So we haven't talked about Edith on the show yet. But here's a brief intro. Edith is a Hungarian speed skier. She has 2 World Cup podiums to her name, and she's raced on the World Cup for a few years now. But last year she crashed in Altenmarkt-Zauchensee, Austria. She injured her right knee and was knocked out for the season, had to undergo surgery, go through the whole rehabilitation process, and came back in less than a year. So we've seen her racing speed since December. But this is such a bummer. She re-injured her right ACL in the downhill in Bad Kleinkirchheim. The conditions deteriorated very quickly. And it was a little bit of a bizarre situation, because she came down having a pretty solid run, and there was this big right-footed turn coming into the finish. And it looks from the video like she got a bit in the back seat, and maybe there was too much pressure on the knee. Perhaps it twisted a bit, but it was clear she was in immediate pain. She skipped the final gate skiing down with the weight, primarily on her left leg, and crashed in the finish. And then the initial speculation was that maybe she had lost consciousness, and that's why she fell in the finish. But that was inaccurate. She was conscious when the medical personnel got to her. Unfortunately, because she re-injured her leg, she had to undergo surgery again. She'll be working on the rehab process, and it takes her out of the Olympic Games, which, for any athlete is a bummer. But I don't think anyone generally thinks of Hungary as a winter sports mecca like they might with, Austria or Norway or things like that. So she was going to be a big representative for them there. So it's always unfortunate to see that happen. And she joins a slew of athletes like Ilka Stujic of Slovenia and Veronika Velez-Zuzulova, who were injured, in the last 6 months or so and had their Olympic season put in danger. But while Stujic, the Slovenian, who you guys might remember, had a really amazing season in 2016-17, she's continuing to rehab in the gym. But Veronika Velez-Zuzulova is actually already back on snow. And this is kind of crazy, actually, for those who are familiar with knee injuries. Most people see ACL tear, and the initial thought is, okay, surgery and 6 to 8 month recovery time. She injured herself in the late summer while she was training down in South America, and she got back on snow in December. So you're looking at, 3.5 month recovery time getting back on snow. She's been training, and this could be her last Olympic Games. So I see why she's motivated to get back. She's an older athlete on the circuit. And I think we could actually see her back relatively soon on the World Cup, because on January 9th, she posted to Facebook saying that she hoped Flacao would be the last slalom she'd have to watch on TV. And so if that's the case, and she's going to race the next slalom, we could see her back in the start gate at the end of January, the 28th, specifically, in Lenzerheide, Switzerland. It's just a couple weeks before the Olympic slalom. And I know she's hoping to get back for that. So keep your eyes peeled, because it'll be interesting to see how she does in race mode with such a quick recovery time. I'm hoping we'll see exciting things from her, and that maybe the surgery will be the wave of the future for, elite athletes. But I can't leave the news section without talking about the Olympic Games. I think we're seeing that ramp up across sports media. But I wanted to share this really cool tool report I came across. It's called the Grace Note Virtual Medal Table. And if you're not familiar with Grace Note, they're a company that deals in what they call entertainment data. Essentially, they track stats and records for things like the Alpine Skiing World Cup. So as media personnel, we have access to these fact sheets, and we get them before each race, and you can see, how many wins Michaela Schifrin has had, who was the last person to win at a specific venue, and different things like that. But Grace Note released this virtual medal table, and they describe it as a statistical model based on individual and team results in previous Olympic Games, World Championships, and World Cups. And the goal is to forecast the most likely gold, silver, and bronze medal winners by country. Based on what I read, it's a bit of a living, breathing document. They said they're going to have a final medal forecast on February 9th. Obviously, a lot of competition going on in these winter sports right now, so things are subject to change. But I wanted to read you guys some of these stats because I think they're interesting predictions. Anything can happen at the Olympic Games, especially in outdoor sports. Weather, conditions, how someone's knee is feeling that day are all factors in who could actually take home a gold medal. But I think these will be interesting for you guys, so I wanted to put them on your radar. So Grace Note is predicting that Germany will win the most medals of any country, followed by Norway, Canada, the US, and France in that order. And they think Germany's strongest sport at the Winter Games is likely to be biathlon. If you're not familiar with biathlon, it's like cross-country skiing where they shoot at a target with a gun. And they're projecting they'll win 10 medals in that event. And then Norway is forecast to take home 19 medals. They're predicting that in cross-country skiing, 6 more than the current Olympic record. And that Olympic record of 13 medals was set by the Soviet Union at the 1988 Games. So you got to go way back in history. And then also they think America's best performances should be spread across alpine skiing by Michaela Schifrin, Lindsey Vonn, and Ted Ligety, in addition to freestyle skiing, snowboarding, and speed skating. Anyway, for someone like me who loves stats, I thought this prediction tool was really cool. If you're at all interested in feeling like the stats and have some good predictions for the Olympics, want to impress your friends, I'll put the link below the podcast. It's just interesting to browse through to kind of get in the know of which countries are going to be dominating certain sports and who might be the biggest winners at the Games in Pyeongchang. And that's all I have for you guys in Fresh Tracks today. And I'm really excited to jump in to our next section, the Mix Zone. As you know, that's where I sit down and interview some of the best athletes in the world. So without further ado, here's my interview with this week's guest, Roni Remme. The young Canadian has had a really strong season on the NorAm circuit so far, and she made her World Cup debut in speed races at Lake Louise this season. She's already making a huge impression in slalom on the World Cup circuit. So, Roni, thank you so much for being on the show this week.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So, like I said in your intro, you made your World Cup debut at Lake Louise in December, and I imagine there were some mixed emotions. I understand that you dislocated your shoulder there, just over a year ago, and I'm just wondering what it was like to push out of the start gate, not only in your first World Cup, but at that venue in particular.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult for, that reason. I dislocated it in the NorAms the year before that and hoped to push out of the gate the following day after the dislocation, just, to try and get over that bump as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it was an okay experience just because skiing on home turf and my downhill experience is limited to begin with. So honestly, every time I get into a downhill start, it's just kind of like a new experience and a new chance.
For sure. And you did well in the NorAms right after that. So you feel like you're getting more comfortable on that track?
Yeah. Being able to be on that track for almost 2 weeks straight, I think was a huge boost to my speed skills and experience. It's probably the most speed training I've ever had in my life. So really great experience training on the World Cup prepped hill for almost 2 weeks and feeling that speed and those, terrain elements was a pretty big deal for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reading your blog, and it sounds like you've had a handful of injuries through your career. So can you talk to me about, aside from your dislocated shoulder, if you've had any other injuries and how those affect you?
The dislocated shoulder, that was an ongoing one for me. My first dislocation came when I was 15 or 16, I believe.
Okay.
And so I'd been dealing with that for years and finally got surgery this spring on my shoulder, actually. And have had fewer issues since then, but shoulders are finicky things. Like, I feel like it's an ongoing battle. Though that was my most serious one. I've had a few knee scopes just to clean things up, but nothing that's put me out for extended periods of time.
Yeah, the shoulder one's interesting because your teammate, Mitch, also had that recurring dislocated shoulder problem, but I think she just got surgery on it while she was dealing with her knee. So, yeah, it's a funny one for ski racers, but it's good to hear it's fixed and that you're feeling good.
That was actually her second shoulder surgery with the most recent one. She had it previously a couple years back as well. Yikes.
Yeah, that's tough. I've heard that's painful too.
It is. It's brutal because trying to get your range of motion back is just, it was, I don't want to go through that again. That wasn't fun.
Well, we won't dwell too much on the negative things because there's been a lot of really good stuff for you lately. After Lake Louise, for fans who aren't familiar, Roni then headed to Lienz, Austria, Zagreb, Croatia, and then recently Kranjska Gora. So she's on the streak of European World Cups. And I'm curious, because Lake Louise is a relatively mellow World Cup compared to what you see on the rest of the circuit. What has your impression of European World Cup racing been so far?
Man, it's really exciting. I mean, ski racing here in Europe is what hockey is in Canada, right? So it's just, it's exciting seeing the energy and how much people care about it here. Actually, just before I took this call, I was sitting down at dinner with my team, and the waiter came up to me and just whispered in my ear, "There's a man in the lobby waiting for you. He'd like you to sign some stuff once you're done eating or something." And I was like, "Whoa, this is weird." And so I finished eating and went out there, and the guy had like 10 photos of me that he wanted me to sign. Like, it was just so strange. Like, people know who you are when you feel like, I don't know, you don't even know who you are here. Like, it's interesting.
That's so cool. I feel like that's got to be a moment for you where you realize, like, oh, I've made it to this next level in my ski racing career, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been interesting the last couple of weeks, definitely getting, I don't know, yeah, like extra attention, like being at the races, I can tell people like know who I am now, different coaches like know who I am, and it's interesting. It's pretty neat. I'm excited to keep along this path, hopefully, and try and ski a little faster even.
For sure. And you see a lot of athletes go from NorAm to World Cup. I mean, it's a very common transition with American and Canadian athletes, but you don't often see someone like yourself come out of the gate so strong. And I'm curious if you've surprised yourself at all with what you've been able to do in just these first few races.
The first race, I think I surprised myself the first run because I didn't feel like I skied as well as I would have hoped, and I made more mistakes than I wanted to and all this stuff. So I crossed the finish line in 17th on my first run in the first slalom, and I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this run got me in this position. And I think honestly since then it hit me, you know what, like I can do this. This is where I belong. Like, you know, I can ski with these girls. I don't know. I think it was that experience that gave me the confidence to be like, hey, this, you know, I can do this. This isn't too tough. I've been training for this for my whole life.
For sure. And I'm curious because, you know, you ended last season 9th in the NorAm overall standings. You had one podium result. And now you're leading the NorAm standings. You won based on what I saw, a slalom and alpine combined, a super G and a downhill already this season. And so it seems like something has clicked for you maybe in the last 6 months to a year. And I'm curious if you can identify what that is.
Well, that elusive GS, huh? I still have to get one of those. Honestly, I think a big change for me, I mean, I was in college for the last 2 years, which was, I think, the best decision I ever made. I learned so much as an athlete and a person. But the problem in college is that you don't get the prep period. So right. When I was in college, I didn't get on snow until about November every year, and I didn't really get summer camps. So I was starting fresh in November when everyone on the national teams had been on snow for over 100 days probably until then. Right. And I think I got that experience this year being back with the national team. I got the summer training, and I think that was a big difference for me. In the last 4 years and my last couple years with the national team, I injured myself kind of leading up to the season and didn't get to start strong. Mm-hmm. And then in college, I always felt like I was finding my speed in March, which makes sense because finally I got my 100 days on snow and I was, you know, in my peak form. And I think I was able to find that like at the beginning of the season this year, which was really exciting position for me to be in for the first time almost in my life.
Definitely. And for those who don't know, who are listening in, Roni was a University of Utah athlete. So can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to go to the University of Utah and how long you were there, and tell us a little bit about that experience? Sure.
I spent 2 years at Utah, the last 2 years. I would be going into my junior year this year, which I'm taking off. And I decided to go to school because I spent 2 years on the Devo team in Canada, and I didn't love ski racing as much as I did before. I didn't know why I was there. I wasn't enjoying it. I didn't have the fire that I had before when I was younger, and I always wanted to go to school, and I always had dreams of pursuing a career after sport. And school, you know, just seemed like a really great plan. And so I started sending some emails and found some coaches that were interested, and Utah was the best fit for me, and I never looked back.
So you must have enjoyed your time at the University of Utah, and it also helped prep you to get back on the national team and get where you are right now. So how do you think college racing helped propel you? One, maybe how did it help you find your passion again? And then two, how did it help propel you back to the national team?
Oh, well, there's so many ways I can answer this question, but I think spending day after day in the classroom, learning about things that you don't necessarily always want to learn about, really helps you appreciate the time you spend out on the mountain, skiing and doing the thing that you actually love. And I think that's what helped me find my passion is, I enjoy learning, but school's pretty tough. And getting out on the slopes was like that release. It was that way to like calm down and find yourself again and not, turn the brain off a little bit. And I think that's what like a lot of people come to college with, they're burnt out from national teams or whatever. They go to college and they found this second wind and all of a sudden they start skiing faster. And I think it's not like a stress-free environment, but you're free from the other stresses almost when you're on the hill, which is right. Yeah, it's liberating for sure. Like it's just a different experience altogether that I don't think you'll ever experience outside of college ski racing. Definitely. Yeah. College racing is fun. I enjoyed my time on the circuit. It's a cool place. Yeah. And now that you're out of college, you're on the national team and everything's sort of clicking for you. Based on your NorAm results, it looks like you are, a multi-event threat, if you will. You've had your best World Cup result in the slalom so far, but I'm curious if you have plans to maybe this season start racing, do more World Cups, maybe in speed or GS or things like that. I would love to. That's the plan. I don't intend to specialize in any way in the near future. Unfortunately, we don't have that many spots in GS these days because we're not having a ton of success right now. So it's hard for me to try and fight for a GS spot because that's not my top discipline. But I'm hoping to get a couple starts and maybe some super combines or some of the speed races coming up. The plan is for me to go to Bad Kleinkertheim, I think that's how you say it, after Flacco, and I think there might be a super combine there. There's some speed races that we're looking into, and then potentially Cortina. There's a lot of things up in the air. I don't know my schedule past tomorrow, to be honest. Nice. Well, then the world is your oyster, so it's a little bit exciting. Yeah, for sure. So it's sort of on the same note, I guess, aside from World Cups, is your focus this season on like earning the NorAm title to secure a World Cup spot for next season? Or are you going to do you think you'll stay focused on the World Cup circuit for now? Like what's the goal for the end of the season for you? I'm not sure. All of that is my decision. I want to try and ski as fast as I can wherever that is. For sure. I'm really loving the opportunity I'm having on the World Cup right now. And I think that there's still some things that I want to achieve here. But for sure, it's always, the goal is always the coaches love NorAm titles. They do. Sure. So I'm sure if that's a possibility, they're going to try and do everything that we can for me to try and get that NorAm title. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Roni. I really appreciate it. I know you're swamped, but I wish you the best of luck in the coming season. And I can't wait to see what you do. It's been really awesome chatting. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a great talk. Thanks again to Roni for coming on the show. I'm so glad we could find time to connect. Roni tells me that she is going to be doing a slalom training block now leading up to Lienz Heide. So you'll be able to watch her at those races in Switzerland at the end of January. There are no NorAm races until February. So she doesn't really know her schedule right now, but we may see her continuing to dominate the NorAm circuit as well. Before I sign off, I have a couple shameless plugs to make. First, if you haven't already downloaded the app Anchor, like the anchor for a ship, WiSP Sports Radio has a short morning show that I co-host occasionally, where we talk about the latest headlines in women's sports, not just skiing. We have some really interesting conversations. So download the Anchor app. Second, if you haven't already, I hope you check out Tips and Tales. It's a new ski racing podcast hosted by Steve Perino and Scott Lyons. And they have been in the ski industry for ages. They have done some really interesting interviews with coaches and parents of World Cup stars recently. You can find that on skiracing.com under premium podcasts. I have so much respect for those guys and the work that they do, and just their deep knowledge of the sport. So definitely take a listen. It's a lot of interesting information, and they're great storytellers. And then if you guys are loving this podcast,
I hope you will leave a 5-star review of WiSP Sports Radio on iTunes. I also welcome any ideas. If you have guests you'd like me to talk to or issues you'd like to see discussed on this podcast, please feel free to leave a comment here. Tweet me at Hall_Gabbi. Find me on Facebook. I'm totally open to suggestions. More episodes of The Inside Line can be found at wisports.com, skiracing.com, and just about anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, the Google Play Store, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Spotify. Just search for WiSP Sports Radio. That's WiSP Sports Radio. With over 700 episodes across 30 unique shows and a global audience of 1.5 million, WiSP Sports Radio is the world's largest network of podcasts for women's sport. That's all I've got for you this week, folks. I will see you in 2 weeks' time for our final check-in before the 2018 Olympic Winter Games in South Korea.